United, because they, of course, launched their new Adidas kit last week and their new partnership with JD Sports. Are we expecting their commercial revenue to soar potentially, Keith?
Well, certainly it's going to help a lot. I mean, I saw the queues going around St. James's Park to the new temporary megastore, which is incredible. I mean, it just shows you the passion that's up there. Great satisfaction with the kit, a great marketing campaign to get it all going. Adidas and Newcastle back together again, very exciting. It does feel like a resurgence for the Newcastle fans back up there, that they're back in the big boys again with a big trademark. Certainly, that side of the business is going to increase. Will they be able to find other areas, though, to increase commercial revenue? I think they haven't really worked hard enough on that yet. I mean, there's the normal ticketing. St. James's Park is full, merchandise, catering, etc. That's okay. But they've got to find some new innovative revenue streams as well if they're really going to compete. Unless, of course, they're allowed to bring in sponsorships and sell the next shirt sponsor for £2 billion on the front of their shirt, as Man City would like us all to do. So they've got harder work to do yet. They've got a great platform to go from. And I've got every faith that the executive team at Newcastle will do it.
And it's been anticipated, Keith, that the contract for this deal could be worth sort of 25 million pounds plus per year. What impact will that have on them long term? And actually, could that influence any of their transfer decisions at all? Do you think, could it have any lasting impact potentially on the club?
Not really. I think that's still, we're talking, it sounds strange to say it, but it's a small amount. I mean, you've got to get up to the 40s, 60s, 80s at the bigger end of the table, but before Newcastle starts to see a major increase. But I've got no doubt that the figures in sales for merchandise this year will give them great bargaining position to increase it going forward. But of course, it comes down to being on the pitch as well. And if they can qualify again for Champions League somehow this year, or European football at the very least, that will trigger some bonuses for their merchandise deal, and it'll position them to go forward and to go further. But as we all know, it's results on the football pitch that ultimately give you the big riches. But Newcastle are poised to do that, and so good luck to them. And I hope they do compete and they become, one of the clubs at the top end that we're talking about as really being in the mix, because I think that's great for football.
Do you feel, Keith, then following that too, that Newcastle actually could become Adidas's sort of flagship club from England, or do you think Man United will sort of forever hold that title, given the history with the brand and the club?
No, I think certainly the Eddie Howe approach and the refreshing of Newcastle, I think, has got a lot for it internationally. I think certainly the Middle East will welcome the Newcastle Adidas partnership. Man United always been notoriously strong in Asia. So slightly different markets, and I think they'll play them differently in each market. They've certainly got some great bullets to fire now with Adidas, and it's brand marketing is a very interesting position there. It doesn't carry players as much as it used to. It's much more about a brand feel and brand marketing, and often players and teams not often used that much as they used to be anyway. But still, Adidas are going to be, they've got to mount this comeback. They've had a few missteps themselves over the last few years, but it does seem that they're back and they're fighting again, which again, it's a fascinating one. Maybe one week we'll do a whole thing about Nike, Adidas and Castori and all the other kit manufacturers, because it's a fascinating part of the business. And I think certainly for Adidas, I think Newcastle is a good, young, aspiring brand, if you like, for them. So good news for them.
I mean, sort of picking up on that as well, Keith, Adidas said that the home kit's inspired from their 2002-03 campaign. How important is it that nostalgia is sort of built in within the kits to sort of encourage the fans to buy the shirts and reflect on previous memories? And have you got any experiences that you could share potentially?
Well, look, it's funny. We just talked about international marketing, where nostalgia doesn't really count. A lot of the fans don't understand the history of the clubs. They tend to be modern adolescent fans internationally and have come to the club in recent years. So nostalgia may not count there, but it does give a soul and it gives a tradition to the club. Certainly, look, the things I've tried to do in the past. I mean, I remember when we had Aberdeen, we had the centenary shirt, and we actually wove the name of 1,000 fans into that shirt. And so you could actually read the fans' names throughout the shirt. And that was part of the 100 years of history of the club. So that was something that was quite special and was well regarded. Look, for Everton, you're always going back to the 80s and their period of success. Clubs trying to reflect that. But often, while nostalgia is okay, as they say, nostalgia ain't what it used to be. And I think you've got to show a club that's modern going forward, and that's important in the international market, as well as for the younger fans today. I think that's what they want to see as well. The age group of the fans that remember the nostalgia may be the dying market in many ways. And so we've got to remain relevant to the younger fan and to the international fan. And so whether it's new fabrics, whether it's new designs, whether it's something to do with the modern way forward, those are the areas that I'd be trying to focus on right now if I was chief executive.
And Keith, you in there mentioned Manchester City. Do you think Newcastle will be supporting City during this legal case? And are you surprised they haven't sort of been more public or open potentially about their stance?
I think I don't know who's going to support City. It's been rumoured different clubs have, but nobody's come out and said it yet because they know there will be a backlash if they lose. I don't think necessarily the PIF would be backing Newcastle to try and do this. And I think a lot of the American owners wouldn't necessarily be backing them. There's rumours that Todd Bowley and Chelsea are backing it, but I think they'd want to see a certain cost control element still within their football clubs. There isn't unlimited funds to spend on players and clubs. And so I think common sense should say, look, let's have some element of cost control. Now, if Man City do open this can of worms and we do get unlimited values of sponsorships, then I think that will end up harming clubs, and it may just leave City to go ahead by themselves, win the league every year, and we just start with them in first place, don't play the games. It's that sort of silly. But I think the other owners do tend to see, I hope they tend to see anyway, how competition and integrity is best for them long term. And so I don't know if they'll all come out in support of City, as some people have mooted. I think cost control is just as relevant to them as it is on spending.
You've just watched a segment from Football Insider's brand new podcast, The Inside Track, with me, Lewis Pearce, alongside the guests on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please do give the video a like, comment your thoughts on the topic, and feel free to share on your social media pages. If you want to listen to the full podcast episode, click the link in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled for plenty more content and exclusives here on The Inside Track.